We are social creatures, and our successes, our happiness, our very well-being is deeply intertwined with how we navigate the complex world of human relationships. We all want things from each other. A business person wants business. A husband and wife want love. A parent wants obedience. A child wants security. A salesman wants a signature on a dotted line. A boss wants loyalty and cooperation. An employee wants recognition. These are natural desires, not something to be ashamed of. It is not selfish to seek success and happiness. It is human. However, the key is in how we go about getting what we want. We are not alone in this pursuit. Each of us has something that others need, and in turn, we need what others have to offer. All our dealings with each other are based on these needs. But how do we satisfy these needs in a way that benefits everyone involved? There are, it seems, three basic ways to approach this. The first is by force, threats, intimidation, or by outsmarting others. While this might seem like a quick path to getting what one wants, it is a destructive path that leaves resentment and pain in its wake. The second way is to become a human relations beggar, submissive and eager to please, hoping that by not causing trouble, we might receive what we desire. But this path robs us of our self-respect and doesn't lead to genuine connection. The third and most rewarding way is to operate on a basis of fair exchange, a give and take, where we give others what they need and in turn receive what we need. I'm not here to offer some Pollyanna theory or gimmicks on how to get along with others while suppressing our own desires. What I want to share are discoveries about how human beings actually act and react, and how we can use that knowledge to get what we want while making others happy. So how can we tap into this power? How can we have confidence and power in dealing with others? One of the biggest reasons so many people lack confidence is that they do not understand what they are dealing with. When we are unsure, we lack confidence. The more we know about human nature, the more confident we will be. We need to remember that from 66% to 90% of all failures in the business world are failures in human relations. It has also been shown that personality problems like timidity, shyness, and self-consciousness are basically problems in dealing with other people. Learning to deal with people with confidence will improve our success and happiness. The ability to deal with others is far more important than technical skills. For example, studies of engineering graduates showed that those with a marked ability to deal with others earned significantly more than those who were technically brilliant but had poor social skills. This is because when we boil down personality to its basic ingredients, it is nothing more than the ability to interest and serve other people. Influencing people is an art, not a gimmick. The first law of human relations is this: people act or fail to act largely to enhance their own egos. When we want to persuade someone, we should give them a reason that enhances their ego. This simple yet profound truth holds the key to many of our interactions. It's important to understand that we are all egotists. We are all self-centered. This is not necessarily a bad thing. It is simply a fact of life. Each of us is hungry for recognition and a feeling of importance. A healthy personality requires self-acceptance and self-approval. When we truly feel good about ourselves, we can focus our attention on work and others. So instead of fighting this human need, we can use it to build positive relationships. So how do we do this? Let's talk about LSMFT, which stands for Help the Other Fellow Like Himself Better. This can be accomplished by feeding their hungry ego. We can accomplish this through genuine compliments and real praise, not insincere flattery. When you make a person feel good about themselves, they become more agreeable, understanding, and cooperative. We must recognize the other person. This can be done in the following ways. Think other people are important. Notice other people. Don't lord it over people. Don't underestimate small courtesies such as being on time for an appointment. It is by such things that we acknowledge the importance of the other person. In fact, we are often more courteous to strangers than to our own family and friends. Let us try treating our loved ones with the same courtesy we would show to strangers. We must remind ourselves that other people are important, and our attitude will get across to them. Let us begin to notice other people more. When we pay attention to a person, we make them feel important. Let us not lord it over other people or attempt to increase our own feeling of self-importance by making other people feel small. Everyone needs to feel important and feel that other people recognize his importance. This trait of human nature in itself is neutral. We can use it for our advantage or disadvantage, just as we can use a knife to butter our bread or cut our own throat. When we feel tempted to show off our own importance, we must remember why we are engaging in this conversation. Are we trying to win a battle, or are we trying to create a positive interaction with another person? We must ask ourselves, does it make any real difference if the other person is right or wrong? We must begin to give away the wealth we possess, the wealth of human relations. We must not hoard it, dole it out stingily, or play favorites. Everyone is hungry for this food, the feeling of importance. Courtesy, politeness, and manners are all based on this universal hunger. They are ways in which we acknowledge the importance of the other person. We must realize that our own feelings about ourselves are, to a large extent, reflections of how others seem to feel about us. Very few people can maintain their sense of dignity and worth if everyone they meet treats them as if they are nobody. Often, small things can become tremendous trifles. A careless remark, a missed appointment, a thoughtless act can send the message that we do not think the other person is important. We must make people feel important. This can be achieved by convincing yourself that other people are important, noticing other people more, not lording over people. Subconsciously, we all know that we notice only what is important to us. So when someone notices us, he is giving us a big compliment. He is saying that he recognizes our importance. This gives a big boost to our morale, and we become more friendly and cooperative. When dealing with a group, try to pay attention to everyone as much as is practical. Make each individual feel that you consider them important. We can also control the actions and attitudes of others by understanding how our own actions and attitudes affect them. For example, when someone shouts at us, we automatically shout back, even if we can't see the speaker. We can use this knowledge to control anger in others. If we keep our voice soft, we are less likely to become angry, and we are more likely to de-escalate the anger in others. A soft answer turns away wrath. Enthusiasm is catching. Adopt the attitude and action we want others to express. When we are sold on an idea, others can tell, and they become interested. In order to make others enthusiastic, we must start by being enthusiastic ourselves. We must sell ourselves on the idea that the other person is going to buy. Confidence breeds confidence. Just as we can make others enthusiastic, we can make others have confidence in us by acting confidently. It is a sad but true fact that many men of mediocre ability get further than others with outstanding talents because they know how to act confidently. We instinctively like the person who knows what he wants and acts as if he expects to get it. If you want people to like you, let them know that you expect to win. Hold up your head, look people in the eye, and walk as if you know where you are going. We must also pay attention to our voice. Our voice communicates more than just ideas. It communicates our feelings about ourselves. Does it express hopelessness or courage? Do we speak confidently or mumble? We must cultivate a positive tone. We can get others to do better by showing them that we have faith in them. Let others know that we think they can be trusted, and they will prove themselves trustworthy. If we expect them to do a good job, they are more likely to do a good job. As Winston Churchill once said, I have found that the best way to get another to acquire a virtue is to impute it to him. We must act as if we expect others to like us. When we go into a situation expecting to be liked, we set the stage for a positive interaction. If we do not feel accepted, we should blame ourselves, not others. If we act as if we are a nobody, the world will take us at our own value. If we act as if we are a somebody, the world has no choice but to treat us as somebody. However, we must be careful not to become arrogant or overbearing. People who put on airs do so because they feel small and insignificant. The people who are genuinely big never act like this. Rather, they are natural and homey. Our subconscious is smarter than we realize, and it can see through the disguises we wear. When dealing with other people, we ourselves sound the keynote for the entire theme when we begin the interaction. Other people accept you at your own appraisal. Be aware of the impression you are giving others. We must know what we want and then sound off accordingly. We must be careful not to give the impression that our employer, our work, or anything else that we are doing isn't much. If we give that impression, people will think that we aren't much ourselves. We should also not knock the competition. Instead, boost our own product. People dislike negative talk, and knocking sets a negative stage. To get people to say yes to us, we must create a positive and affirmative atmosphere rather than a negative one. Get the other person to say yes to a number of preliminary questions before you ask them your big question. We should assume that the other person will do what we want. This technique works because people have a strong urge to live up to what is expected of them. The words we use can either create a positive or negative expectation. To attract people, we must provide the food they are hungry for. The triple formula for attracting people is acceptance, approval, appreciation. Friendship doesn't just happen. We choose our friends based on need and hunger. Accept people as they are. Allow them to be themselves. Do not insist on anyone being perfect before you can like him. Many people have little influence on others simply because they cannot accept people as they are. When we like someone as they are, we give them the power to change themselves. We must go out of our way to approve. The cure for incorrigible children is often approval. Also, other people are valuable to us. Stop and consider how valuable are the people in your life. Emphasize their value in your own mind. Then figure out little ways to let others know that you value them highly. People are the most important, valuable things on earth. Don't keep people waiting if you can help it. Treat people as special and do not give them the routine treatment. We all want to be treated as unique individuals. We do not want to be put into broad categories. If we analyze a person with an attractive personality, we will find that he offers food to feed the basic hungers of human beings. Honey attracts more flies than vinegar. When we put out this food, people will flock to us. The real secret of an attractive personality is to offer other people the food they are hungry for. We must also use the magic of a smile. The person at whom we smile smiles back. Our smile makes the other person feel smile-deserving. It differentiates them and gives them individual status. The very act of smiling helps us feel more friendly. Practice in smiling in front of a mirror helps us develop a good, genuine smile. It is important to understand that human relations often become deadlocked because each party is afraid to make the first move. Therefore, we must assume that others are going to be friendly and act accordingly. We must also assume the attitude we wish others to take. To succeed, we must develop skill in using words. After 25 years in business management, it has been discovered that success depends as much on our ability to talk as it does on our ability to do the job. The one thing successful people have in common is skill in using words. Our happiness depends, to a great extent, on our ability to express ourselves. We should also stop trying to be perfect. Conversation flourishes when we take the brakes off our hearts and let our tongues wag as automatically and irresponsibly as they will. If we relax and stop being afraid to be ourselves, we will find that our conversations will become more original and enjoyable. No one can be brilliant every minute. Even the most stimulating conversations contain a large percentage of meaningless chatter. Small talk isn't supposed to be brilliant. Everyone engages in small talk that doesn't say anything clever or significant. This sort of small talk is necessary to get the wheels turning. We must be willing to go through a warm-up period in starting a conversation. We cannot expect to be hot at the very beginning. We should not try to draw out interesting ideas until we have warmed up the other person. When we are introduced to someone, we can warm up the other person with questions like, "Where are you from? How long do you plan on being here? What do you think of the weather?" These are surefire warmer-uppers because they get the other fellow talking about themselves. The art of being a good conversationalist is not about thinking up clever things to say, but about opening up the other fellow and getting them to talk. If we can stimulate others to talk, we will acquire a reputation as a good conversationalist. If we can get the other fellow talking and keep him talking, nothing will work better to get him to warm up to us and be interested in our ideas when it is our turn to talk. We must give the conversation a U-turn, and the other fellow will give us a green light. Most of us tend to turn the conversation to I and me. When we do this, the other person is apt to give us a red light. You is a magic word if we use it correctly. We must keep the conversation steered to the other person's interests by asking questions. Why? Where? How? These questions get us a reputation as one of the most interesting talkers they have ever met. We must remember that human beings are innately selfish. They are first and last always interested in themselves, their family, their hometown, and their ideas. If we turn the conversation to the other person, we rate much higher in their estimation. Public speakers often talk about themselves, but they have been invited to do so. Unless we have hired a hall and advertised in advance, our listeners have no way of knowing that they will be forced to listen to our exploits. We should also use happy talk as much as possible. Nobody likes a gloomy Gus or a prophet of doom. People do not like to hear bad news. We must not air our troubles in public. If we have something on our chest, we can write it down in a letter and then burn the letter. This can provide an outlet and can drain off our emotions so that we do not feel the need to tell everyone about them. We must also try to overcome the temptation to kid, tease, or be sarcastic. Teasing and kidding are aimed at the self-esteem of the other person. Anything that threatens self-esteem is dangerous, even if it is done in fun. Sarcasm always has a cruel element about it, and it is calculated to make the other person feel small. To summarize, success and happiness depend on our ability to express ourselves, so we must study how to improve our communication. We must practice starting conversations with strangers by using warm-up techniques, and we must stop trying to be perfect. We must encourage others to talk about themselves and use the Me Too technique to identify with them. We must only talk about ourselves when we have been invited to do so. We must use happy talk and eliminate kidding, teasing, and sarcasm from our conversations. We also need to learn how to listen. To be able to listen in a sympathetic and understanding manner is perhaps the most effective way to get along with people and to tie up their friendship for good. Too few people practice the white magic of being good listeners. We must ask ourselves, how well did I listen? When we have had an interaction with another person, listening makes us clever. The person who is always making smart remarks gets classified as a smart aleck, blowhard, or egotist. The sure way to convince someone that we are intelligent is to listen and pay attention to what they have to say. If we attach importance to what they are saying and listen attentively, it proves that we are smart. We must remember, the Lord gave us 2 ears and only 1 mouth. Evidently, He intended us to do twice as much listening as talking. People will tell us what they want if we listen. Many successful businessmen who are considered psychic or mind readers simply encourage the other person to talk and keep their own mouths shut. If we get the other person to talk enough, they cannot disguise their real feelings or motives. Listening helps overcome self-consciousness and self-centeredness. By focusing on the other person, we get our own focus off of ourselves. We must relax and not try too hard. We should not make a conscious effort to think of something important to say. If we just listen to the music and let ourselves respond, we will find that our own brains will work better. If we are spontaneous, the right things will just seem to pop out of our mouths. We can never really understand another human being unless we are willing to listen carefully, sympathetically, and patiently. One of the highest compliments we can pay another is simply to listen to them. By listening, we increase their self-esteem. On the other hand, one of the most deflating things we can do to another's ego is to brush them off before hearing what they have to say. We must remember, you have got to know what people want, what they need, and what they are if you are going to deal with them effectively, and the way to find out this information is to listen. To practice listening, we must look at the person who is talking. Appear deeply interested. Lean toward the person who is talking. Ask questions. Do not interrupt. Stick to the speaker's subject. Use the speaker's words to get your own point across. Every day, we need to persuade others to accept our viewpoint. The natural thing to do is to argue, but the only way you can really win an argument is to get the other fellow to change his mind. Science has discovered that the best way to get ideas accepted is to use a low-pressure technique, calmly presenting facts and leaving out threats or attempts at using force. People are more likely to change their opinions if the other side presents unemotional facts rather than making wild harangues. When we try to win an argument, the biggest mistake we make is in attacking the ego of the other person. We must work with human nature rather than against it if we want to have power with people. The key is to slip our ideas past the ego of the other person. To accomplish this, we must let him state his case. Do not interrupt. The person who has something on his chest has his mental set geared for talking. Pause before you answer. This will let the other person know that you consider what they have said to be important. Do not insist on winning 100%. Always concede something and find a point of agreement. State your case moderately and accurately. Calmly stated facts are more effective than threats or force. Speak through third persons. People are naturally skeptical of us when we are saying things to our own advantage. Let the other person save face. Leave the door open so that they can escape their previous position without losing face. When trying to get 100% cooperation from others, we must ask for their ideas as well as their brawn. Make them feel like it is their problem too, not just your own. All of us are interested in our own problems more than others. If you ask for someone's advice and suggestions, you have challenged them, and they will become more interested. We must also use the principle of multiple management, giving each member of the team a voice in how the team is to operate. The best executives are smart enough to avail themselves of the ideas of the people working under them. The ideal executive is a genius in human relations and knows how to multiply their own ideas by the ideas of others. When we want someone to do us a favor, we should make him a member of the team. We must set up our own brain trust. We must also remember that when we ask for advice, we must actually want advice. We must not just want a pat on the back or assurance that we are right. Finally, let's talk about the miracle power in human relations, which is praise. Praise has the power to release energy. It can make the weak strong, the fearful confident, and failing businesses prosperous. Giving praise is like giving someone an ego tonic to boost their self-esteem. We must remember to find out what people want and then give it to them. People want credit for their work. Be generous with kind statements. Let people know how you feel. Don't take it for granted that they know you appreciate them. Tell them. Every time we say thank you and mean it, we are praising the other person. When we say thank you, we must be sincere, say it clearly, use their name, and look at the person. We must praise the act or the attribute rather than the person. When we praise an act, it is specific and sounds more sincere. Also, the person knows exactly what they are being praised for. It also avoids charges of favoritism, prejudice, and embarrassment. Praising the act creates an incentive to do more of the same. Praise a person for their work, and they will do more work. When we praise a person merely as a person, we may increase their egotism and conceit. When criticizing others, we need to shift our perspective. The real purpose of criticism is not to beat the other fellow down, but to build them up. It is not to hurt their feelings, but to help them do a job better. All criticism could be given in the same spirit. If it were, equally good results would be achieved. The 7 musts for successful criticism are: criticism must be made in absolute privacy. Even the mildest form of criticism made in the presence of others is likely to be resented. Preface criticism with a kind word or compliment. Praise and compliments open the other person's mind. Make the criticism impersonal. Criticize the act, not the person. By pinpointing the criticism to their acts, we can actually pay them a compliment and build up their ego at the same time. Supply the answer. We must offer them a solution. Ask for cooperation. Do not demand it. Give the other person a selfish incentive for wanting to change their actions. 1 criticism to an offense. To call attention to an error once is justified, twice is unnecessary, and 3 times is nagging. Finish in a friendly fashion. Let the other person's last memory of the meeting be a pat on the back. The art of criticism is little known, and most people are inept at it. However, criticism is important and can be helpful. Now, whether we get anything out of this knowledge depends on us. I have given tested methods that have proved themselves in thousands of cases. But knowledge alone is not enough. We must apply it. We must first consider our reasons for wanting to improve our human relations. If we are trying to avoid trouble, we are looking at it from a negative viewpoint. However, if we see human relations as a way to create win-win situations, where everyone benefits, that is more likely to bring about positive results. We must now write down our goals and objectives and begin doing something about them. Let's improve our human relations at work, at home, and in our social life. We must identify specific problems, then research the pages in this book to see where information is given that can throw some light on our problem. Then we must take definite steps to put the information into practice. We must also analyze our own habits and recognize that some of them hold us back in the game of life. We must ask ourselves questions like, do I always give other people some incentive for doing what I want? Do I tend to hold grievances or grudges? Does my temper get me into trouble with others? Do I ever brag and bluster? Am I ever guilty of arrogance or snobbery? Let's work on these habits, not for moral or ethical reasons, but because they hold us back. We must make a plan and take definite steps to improve the areas that are most important to us. You must write the end to this book. This book is not finished until you step in and put these principles to work. When you have worked out your own human relations programs, put them into practice and prove them, only then will this book be complete. These principles can bring success and happiness, but only if they are put into action. So let us all make a commitment today to become masters of human relations. Let us commit to treat others with the dignity and respect that they deserve. Let's begin our journey today, and together, let's make our world a better place, one human interaction at a time.